Good day everyone. In this juncture, we'll tackle about the Module 8 which is the instances of Moro, Lumad, and Christian Filipino cooperation. But before anything else, we have here the objectives. First is, were there instances or attempts of Moro, Lumad, and Christian Filipino cooperation and their struggle against foreign colonialism? And second is, what inspiration we can get out of these attempts. But before we dig deeper, let us first revisit Horacio de la Costa's report on the speech of Dato Bisan to the Datos of Leyte. The Leyte Datos were waiting for him. He took their gold and bills and released to them how they would. Then he opened his mind to them. It was not so much for the ransom itself, he said, that he had sent for them, but to ask them to consider well what advantage they derive from being tributary to the Spaniards. Had the Spaniards been able to protect them? Had been able to protect the people of Panay, Mindoro, and Balayan? But if they allied themselves to the Magindanaons, they would have him, Buwisan, for their friend, and not what he was now, much to his regret, their foe. So, Dato Bisan, a Maguindanao leader, strategically formed an alliance with the Leyte Datos. Initially, he demanded ransom for their captured comrades, but shifted focus on persuading them, which is the Datos, to reconsider their loyalty towards the Spain. Instead, he highlighted the Spanish inability to protect nearby islands, which is the Panay, Mindoro, and Balayan. So Dato Bisan emphasizing the benefits on partnering with the Magindanaons. The Spaniards, after all, were only a handful, nor were they as invincible as they made themselves out to be. Let the people of Leyte be resolute, let them prepare to rise as one man. The following year he, Bisan, would come with a great armada, and together they would sweep the island clear of the Spaniards. So Dato Bisan's persuasive speech ignited anti-Spanish sentiment among the Leyte Datos. He exploited Spanish vulnerabilities, portraying them as weak and exploited. Buwisan promised military support and urged the Datos to unite against Spanish rule, and also Dato Bisan promised to return with great armada to drive out the Spaniards. So armada, it is a warship that Dato Bisan wants to use against the Spaniards' colonialism. The Datos thought there was much wisdom in this speech. They sat down with Bisan and entered into a blood compact with him. They slashed their wrists and let the blood drip into the bowl of brandy. They drank their mingled blood from the common bowl and so become brothers. This done, Bisan turned the prows of his fleet for home. So the Leyte Datos, convinced by Bisan's arguments, sealed their alliance through a traditional blood compact. By mingling their blood, they solidified their brotherhood. Dato Bisan returned home, leaving the Leyte Datos poised for revolt against Spanish colonial rule. This pivotal alliance marked a significant turning point in Philippine history. So, as we all know, blood compact or santugo is a traditional Filipino ritual symbolizing alliance and brotherhood. And also, blood compact is emphasizing unity and cooperation. So, let us now move on to the first objective, which is the further instances or attempts of Moro, Lumad, and Christian Filipino cooperation in their struggle against foreign colonialism. So, the above report about Dato Bisan's blood compact with the Datos of Leyte is a concrete example of cooperation between our Islamized and Christianized forefathers against foreign colonialism. But it is an isolated incident. Were there no other instances where representatives of the Moro, Lumad, and Christian Filipino attempted to unite as one? Certainly, the case of Dato Bisan and Leyte was not the only incident of this sort. the revolutionary government of Emilio Aguinaldo. So Emilio Aguinaldo is a revolutionary leader, sought alliances with Moro and Lumad groups against Spanish colonialism. So Emilio Aguinaldo sent a letter to the Sultan of Sulu calling for solidarity and brotherhood upon the basis of real confederation with absolute respect their beliefs and traditions. So, Dato Bisan incident in Leyte was not isolated event. Emilio Aguinaldo's revolutionary government sought unity among Filipino and Muslim leaders. They reached out to the Sultan of Sulu, proposing solidarity and brotherhood through a confederation. So, this confederation aimed to respect the Sultanate's beliefs, traditions, and customs. Aguinaldo's government recognized the importance of cooperation and mutual respect in the fight of independence, seeking a united front against Spanish colonial rule. And also, Emilio Aguinaldo sent a letter to Dato Pedro Cuevas, a native of Cavite who managed to become a dato of some importance in Basilan. And this letter described by Majul as it spoke of how Igorots and Ates had joined the revolution to share in the victories of their brothers in the valleys. They had lived in the mountains not because of racial differences with the lowlanders but because they loved liberty. Now that there was liberty in the country, they were coming down to the lowlands, wherein Cuevas was asked to applause the Sulu Sultan of all this and to assure him that there will not anymore be repetition of the bloody wars initiated by the criminal ambitions of the Spaniards, who made brothers fight each other, and to warn him that another power, which is the Americans, was now trying to succeed the Spaniards. The letter explained how a combination of the Sulu with the people of Luzon would make it difficult for outsiders to dominate the Filipino. So, first and foremost, the Igorots and Itas lived into the mountain not because of racial differences, but because they love freedom. They love liberty, peace. That's the main reason why they live into the mountains. And then, their motivation was not driven by racial, but a shared desire for liberty. With freedom now within reach, they descended from the mountains to unite with their brothers. Dato Pedro Cuevas was entrusted with conveying this message to the Sultan of Sulu. The letter emphasized that past conflicts sparked by Spanish colonialism would not recur or hindi na maulit kung ano man yung nangyari sa panahon ng Spaniards. It assured the Sultan that this unity will foster peace and cooperation. And also, the letter proposed an alliance between the Sultan's forces and those in Luzon. Together, they could resist external domination, specifically warning of American expansionist ambitions. Unity will safeguard Filipino sovereignty and prevent foreign powers from exploiting internal divisions within the Philippines. Then, in another instance, Baldomero Aguinaldo, the brother of President Emilio Aguinaldo, also wrote a letter dated May 31, 1899, which he addressed to the Sultan of Marangas. The said letter talked about one God, but the Spaniards, especially the friars, made a distinction between the Moros who were described to have a false religion and the Christians who were asserted to have the true religion in order to sow religious discord among the Filipino race. Baldomero Aguinaldo, he emphasized their shared belief in one God. When we heard one God, it is a monotheism, which is who believe in one God, highlighting how Spanish friars manipulated religions differences to divide Filipinos. The letter exposed Spanish colonial tactics where friars labeled Moros as having a false religion while the Christians as having the true faith. So it shows manipulated tactics of Spaniards, especially the friars, of creating tension between the Moros and Christians just to weaken the unity of the two religions. We do not learn of any positive response to the letters. The quick turn of events brought about by American occupation, plus the difficulty in the system of transportation and communication, may have hindered the blossoming of a wonderful relationship between the revolutionary government of Aguinaldo and the sultanates of the South. Yet, despite these unanswered calls, the letters are still very important for they represent the turning point in our ancestors' view of things. Note that for 333 years, we were historically conditioned to believe that the Islamite is the enemy of the Christianized native, but in the letters, they have come to realize that they were only made to fight by the criminal ambitions, which is the Spaniards colonizers. Here we see to the Christian Filipino president widening his horizon and entertaining the idea of establishing a republic based on multiculturalism and respect for the right of self-determination. The letters from Aguinaldo's government to the Sultanates remain unanswered, likely due to the American occupation and communication challenges. Despite this, the letters hold historical significance. For 333 years, Spanish colonialism fostered division between Christianized and Islamized Filipinos. The letters mark a turning point, recognizing colonial manipulation as the root of conflict rather than inherent religious differences. President Aguinaldo's letters envisions a multicultural republic respecting self-determination rights. This pioneering approach acknowledged the country's diversity, seeking unity among diverse groups to challenge the Spaniards. And now, let's all move on to the second objective, which is what inspiration can we get out of these attempts? The above instances or attempts at cooperation of our forefathers should inspire us that we are not only related by blood, language, and culture, which are the basis of ethnicity, the primordial foundation of nationhood, but more importantly, we also had the conviction to belong to each other. In other words, moments of cooperation in our history, such as above, should not be relegated only as footnotes in our textbooks. Rather, they should occupy the centerfold of our history because they form part of the most glorious moments of our collective past. During the Philippine Revolution, an inspiring incident occurred in Cagayan de Oro, showcasing unity among diverse groups. This cooperation highlights the power of shared culture and ethnicity as foundation of nationhood. They demonstrate the collective strength and solidarity of the Filipino people, deserving prominence in historical narratives. All for Module 8. I hope that you learned something from me and thank you for listening.